I spent my 17th birthday packing my entire life into trash bags, while my parents planned my brother's wedding downstairs. They weren't helping me pack for college or a fun trip. They were kicking me out of my childhood home to give my room to my golden child brother and his fiancée. The worst part? My brother didn't even know this was happening because he was in Vegas partying while I was being erased from the family. When my parents drove me to my aunt's house, they spent the entire 40-minute drive discussing venue decorations and catering options, not once acknowledging that they were literally abandoning their younger child. I didn't even get a happy birthday, but I did get confirmation of what I'd always suspected. I was completely expendable. I spent my 17th birthday moving into my aunt's basement, and honestly, it was the best gift I could have asked for. Let me back up. I'm Jordan, and I've always been the invisible kid in my family. Not because I was quiet or shy. I'm actually pretty outgoing when given the chance, but because my older brother Max existed. Max was everything my parents wanted. Varsity quarterback, debate team captain, early acceptance to Stanford. Meanwhile, I was the kid who preferred graphic novels to textbooks and spent weekends at community theater rehearsals instead of football games. My parents never said they loved Max more. They didn't have to. It was in every conversation, every decision, every family photo where I somehow ended up cropped out when they posted to social media. When Max won a football game, we'd go out for a celebratory dinner. When I landed the lead role in our school's production of Hamilton, my mom said, "That's nice, honey," without looking up from her phone. I'd learned to live with it. You adapt, right? You convince yourself that being fed and housed is enough, that you're being dramatic for wanting more. But then my 17th birthday arrived, and everything changed. I woke up that Saturday morning to my parents sitting at the kitchen table with serious expressions. No happy birthday, no card, nothing. Just my dad clearing his throat and my mom fidgeting with her coffee mug. "Jordan, we need to talk about your living situation," my dad began. My stomach dropped. "My what?" "Max is getting married next month," my mom interjected, her voice artificially cheerful. "To Amanda. You remember Amanda, right?" I did. Max's girlfriend of 2 years, a perfectly nice pre-med student who'd never once remembered my name and called me Jason every single time we met. "They need a place to stay while they save for a down payment on a house," my dad continued. "And with Max starting his master's program and Amanda doing her residency, money's tight." I stared at them, waiting for the punchline that never came. "So we've decided they should move in here," my mom said. "Into your room." "My room?" The words came out strangled. "Where am I supposed to sleep?" "Well, that's what we wanted to discuss." My dad avoided eye contact. "Your Aunt Lisa has agreed to take you in for the next year until you graduate. It'll be good for you. She lives closer to that arts magnet school you're always talking about." I had mentioned that school once, 2 years ago, and they'd immediately shut down the idea because it would mean driving me across town every day. Suddenly it was convenient when it meant getting me out of the house. "You're kicking me out," I said flatly. "On my birthday. For Max." "Don't be dramatic," my mom snapped. "This is temporary and it's what's best for the family. Max and Amanda need support right now." "Max has a trust fund from Grandma," I pointed out. "He has money. I have nothing." "That's for his education," my dad said firmly. "This isn't up for discussion, Jordan. We've already arranged everything with Lisa. She's expecting you this afternoon." I looked between them, searching for any sign of hesitation, any hint that they realized how messed up this was. Nothing, just expectation that I'd comply. Did Max ask for this? I had to know. My mom shifted uncomfortably. "He doesn't know yet. We wanted to surprise him when he gets back from his bachelor party trip." Of course, Max was off in Vegas with his buddies, completely unaware his parents were displacing his younger sibling to give him free housing. This wasn't even his idea. It was entirely theirs. I went upstairs and started packing. What else could I do? I was 17, legally still under their control, with nowhere else to go. Every item I shoved into boxes felt like confirmation of what I'd always suspected. I was expendable. My parents didn't help me pack. They didn't even check on me. I heard them in the living room laughing at something on TV while I dismantled my childhood bedroom. When I finally dragged everything downstairs 3 hours later, My dad barely glanced up. Ready? Let's get you loaded up. The drive to Aunt Lisa's took 40 minutes. My parents spent the entire time discussing Max's wedding plans, the venue, the catering, how proud they were. Not once did they acknowledge me sitting in the back seat surrounded by garbage bags full of my belongings. You know, my mom said at one point, now that Jordan won't be around, we can finally convert the garage into that home gym you wanted. They were already erasing me, planning my room's future before I'd even arrived at my new address. Aunt Lisa lived in a small ranch house with a finished basement. When we pulled up, she was already on the porch, arms crossed, expression unreadable. My parents got out and started unloading my stuff with remarkable efficiency, eager to complete the transaction and leave. Hey there, kiddo, Aunt Lisa said, pulling me into a hug. She smelled like coffee and vanilla, familiar and comforting. Let's get you settled. My parents were gone within 10 minutes. No goodbye, no, we'll miss you, not even a happy birthday. Just my dad's taillights disappearing around the corner while I stood in a stranger's driveway with my entire life in trash bags. Come on, Aunt Lisa said gently. I made your favorite, lasagna, and I got you a cake. I burst into tears. Actual shoulder-shaking sobs right there on her front lawn. Because this woman who I saw maybe 3 times a year remembered my favorite food and knew it was my birthday when my own parents couldn't be bothered. She led me inside and let me cry it out while the lasagna warmed in the oven. When I finally calmed down enough to speak, I told her everything. The years of being second place, the constant comparison to Max, how I'd convinced myself it was normal until this moment made it undeniable. Aunt Lisa's jaw tightened. They told me you wanted to transfer schools and asked to live here. What? Your dad called last week, said you'd been unhappy at home and wanted a change, that this was your idea. She pulled out her phone. I have the texts. She showed me the conversation. My dad had completely fabricated a story about me requesting this arrangement, making it sound like I was the one causing problems, that I was difficult and moody and desperate to leave. He'd painted me as the bad guy. That's not true, I said, voice shaking. None of that's true. I never said any of that. I know. Aunt Lisa's expression was fierce. I know because I know you, Jordan, and now I'm calling your father back. She disappeared into another room, and moments later I heard her voice, cold and sharp in a way I'd never heard before. Aunt Lisa was always the peacekeeper at family gatherings, the one who smoothed over arguments and kept everyone calm. But now she was tearing into my dad with a fury that made the walls vibrate. When she returned 15 minutes later, her face was flushed. Your father is a coward and a liar, she said bluntly, and your mother is no better. But you're safe here now, Jordan, for as long as you need. That night, after eating lasagna and birthday cake and opening the thoughtful presents Aunt Lisa had gotten me, art supplies, a new sketchbook, tickets to a Broadway show, I made a decision. I wasn't going to stay silent anymore. I opened my laptop and wrote everything down. Every memory of being overlooked, every time my achievements were dismissed, every moment I'd felt invisible in my own home. I wrote about my birthday, about being displaced for my brother, about my parents' lies. And then I posted it to social media. I didn't tag anyone. I didn't name names. But I made my privacy settings public and shared it everywhere. Then I turned off my phone and tried to sleep. When I woke up the next morning, my phone was exploding. Hundreds of notifications. Comments from relatives I barely knew expressing shock and support. Messages from cousins offering places to stay if I needed them. Texts from my parents absolutely losing their minds, demanding I take it down immediately. My dad's messages were vicious. He called me ungrateful, manipulative, a liar seeking attention. He said I'd always been dramatic and that I was making things up for sympathy. My mom's messages alternated between guilt-tripping and threats, saying I was tearing the family apart and embarrassing them publicly. There was nothing from Max. He was still in Vegas, probably still unaware of any of this. But then I saw a comment from my grandmother, my dad's mother, who I rarely spoke to since she lived in Florida. Jordan, call me immediately. I did, and what she told me changed everything. Your parents have been lying to the entire family, she said, voice trembling with anger. They've been telling everyone you're troubled, that you have behavioral problems, that you're impossible to live with. We all thought you were in therapy, that you'd asked to live elsewhere. This post is the first time any of us are hearing the truth. I couldn't breathe. They'd been running a smear campaign against me for who knows how long, preemptively discrediting me in case I ever spoke up. I'm calling your father, Grandma said. This ends now. Over the next few days, the fallout was spectacular. Aunt Lisa refused to speak to my parents. Half the family took my side. The other half accused me of seeking attention and causing drama. My parents' friends saw the post when it was shared in their social circles, and apparently my dad faced questions at work about why his teenage kid was living elsewhere. Then Max came home and called me. Jordan, what the hell is going on? He sounded genuinely confused. Mom and Dad are saying you threw a fit and ran away, but I'm seeing all this stuff online and none of it makes sense. I told him. Everything. And to my surprise, Max was horrified. I never asked them to do this, he said. Amanda and I have an apartment lined up starting next month. We were never planning to live with them. Where did they even get that idea? They made it up, I said. They wanted me gone, and you were the excuse. There was a long silence. Then, I'm so sorry, Jordan. I never realized. I knew they focused on me more, but I didn't think it was that bad. I should have paid more attention. It's not your fault, I said, and meant it. Max and I had never been close, but he wasn't the villain here. He was just the golden child who'd never questioned his pedestal. I'm going to talk to them, Max said. This is messed up. He did, and apparently that conversation went poorly, because 2 days later Max called to tell me he'd uninvited our parents from his wedding. Amanda agrees, he said. We don't want people there who would do this to their own kid. I'm sorry it took something this extreme for me to see who they really are. The dominoes kept falling. My grandma made good on her threat and cut my parents out of her will. She'd apparently been planning to leave them a substantial amount, but after learning the truth, she redirected everything to me, Max, and Aunt Lisa. My parents lost not just their reputation in the family, but their expected inheritance. They tried to fix things. They showed up at Aunt Lisa's house demanding to talk to me, saying we could work this out. But their version of working it out was me deleting my post, apologizing for embarrassing them, and pretending everything was fine. When I refused, they threatened to force me to come home. That's when Aunt Lisa lawyered up. With my grandma's financial support and my documented evidence of their lies, she petitioned for legal guardianship. My parents fought it initially, but when they realized how much it would cost them, both financially and socially, they backed down. 3 months after my 17th birthday, Aunt Lisa officially became my legal guardian. My parents signed away their rights in exchange for avoiding a messy court battle. They also agreed in writing not to contact me until I turned 18 and initiated contact first. I haven't. It's been 4 months since then, and I haven't spoken to either of them. But my life? It's better than it's ever been. I transferred to that arts magnet school they'd refused to consider, and I'm thriving. I got the lead in our spring musical. I joined the school's award-winning graphic design program. Aunt Lisa comes to every performance and hangs my artwork all over her house. Max and I talk weekly now. He's trying to build a relationship with me that we never had growing up, and while it's awkward sometimes, it's genuine. He apologized at his wedding in his speech, publicly acknowledging he'd been blind to how I was treated and promising to do better. My parents didn't attend. They weren't missed. I still think about them sometimes. Wonder if they ever regret their choices, if they ever realize what they lost, but mostly I've stopped waiting for them to love me, because I've learned something important. Family isn't just biology. It's the people who show up, who remember your birthday, who make space for you not because they have to, but because they want to. Aunt Lisa gave me that. Max is trying to give me that. My grandma, cousins, and extended family have embraced me in ways my parents never did. And that spare room in my aunt's basement, it's not a consolation prize or a punishment. It's the first place I've ever felt like I actually belonged. The walls are covered in my artwork now. There's a bookshelf full of graphic novels. Aunt Lisa installed good lighting so I can draw at night. It's not just a room. It's home. Sometimes people ask if I'll ever reconcile with my parents. Maybe someday, if they ever genuinely apologize and acknowledge what they did. But I'm not holding my breath, and I'm not waiting around for closure that might never come. Because I've already found what I was looking for. A place where I matter, where I'm seen, where I'm wanted. Everything else is just noise. I spent my 17th birthday being kicked out of my house, and somehow it was the best thing that ever happened to me.